Whoops, gotta change my camera angle. I'm gonna get good at this at one point. Welcome to the Cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilot. I have Michael Nania from Jets X Factor. Mr. Nania, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be a lot of fun. Boys and girls, if you do not know Michael Nania, he is one of the best Jets Twitter follows. His Twitter is down in the description down below. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, follow Joe, follow Robbie, and definitely go over and check out Jets X Factor as well. These guys are going to be on here every week breaking down the game from the previous week. I see some guys in the chat. Big Arms, Manny, Daniel, Anthony, Frankie from Flatbush, Dave. How you guys doing? Eddie, Joe S., Rusty Spooner, TJ, Ant, Jerome. What's good, boys and girls? All right. So I guess what we'll do right off the bat, talking a little Jets versus Panthers. And I want to get your overall thoughts and feelings on the game, and then we'll go into each unit, offense, defense, special teams, and that sort of thing. So how did you feel about the Jets' 14-19 loss?
Yeah, so being there live, first of all, I thought it was a really great environment in the stadium. You know, the return of fans at full capacity. There were a lot of Jets fans in the building, so it was a great energy. There was a lot of energy there, and I just think, you know, once it was all said and done, my number one takeaway is the fact that the Jets clearly didn't have their best in this day. They were overmatched in a lot of different ways. There are a lot of areas that this team has to improve, and clearly is going to take some time to gel. But even considering all those things, this was a game where I think teams of the Gase regime, of the Bowles regime, would have folded and just gotten blown out from start to finish and gone down by 20, by 30. But this team, even on a day where they clearly didn't have it, they stayed with it. The defense played much better in the second half. The offense finally found its rhythm towards the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter, and they made it a game. So I think that is the main takeaway to come out of this with. The fact that the Jets didn't have their best. This is clearly a young team. There were a lot of important injuries in this game, losing Joyner, losing Becton. But even considering all those things, they stayed with it and they competed. And I think that's something that is a very important takeaway. I don't think it's something that should be overlooked. The fact that they stayed with it and they fought and they made this a competitive game on an afternoon where they clearly didn't have their best.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that from like a coaching perspective. We had a lot of new guys. You had 9 or 10 new starters, if you want to count Amendola as like a punter as well, like all playing in their first action. LaFleur's calling his first game. You have Saleh actually being a head coach for the first time in a live game. And by and large, it was kind of refreshing to see something different than what we got the last 2 years out of Adam Gase. I felt like they went into halftime, sort of settled down, and kind of executed the game plan that I think they wanted to from the beginning. And I think it was just a lot of nerves, a lot of uncertainty. I mean, you have Mann get knocked out right off the bat on the first punt. Then you have, Joyner goes out at some point in the first quarter, second quarter. That's probably my, aside, obviously the whole Becton injury is a big deal, but I'm disappointed we're not going to get to see Joyner this year because I thought him moving from that nickel position with the Raiders, coming back over to his natural safety position with us, was just poised to have a really good year this season. So I'm a little disappointed we got that. So I guess let's start there. What did you think about Robert Saleh and the way he coached through the game?
Yeah, I think I definitely like the first thing that comes to mind is that 4th and 8 in the fourth quarter. I really feel like, as obvious as a go for it situation as that was, that it was the kind of situation where a Gase or Bowles might punt, and there was no hesitation going for that. They also went for a 4th and 1 around the 40-yard line earlier in the game in the first half, so the aggressiveness was there in terms of the fourth down decisions. I liked his situational play calling, and then just his energy in the sideline, which we knew was going to be there, but just to see it for the first time in a real game was great. The way he would get out on the field after third downs and, just pump up players and like give Mosley a little shove after he makes a play. Stuff like that is great to see. And then in terms of the defense, I agree with you. Joyner is a huge loss. I think that was the injury that affected them the most in this game, outside of Carl Lawson. But among the other injuries, that was the biggest one because Sheldrick Redwine comes in he's the culprit on the Robbie Anderson touchdown. Before that, he gave up a big play to DJ Moore on the sideline. So he was bad. There was a huge drop-off with the safety play with Joyner going out. And then these next few games, while Ashton Davis is still sidelined, they're really going to feel Joyner's absence because the drop-off at safety is huge. If Sherrod Niesman can get back, that'd be huge. But now he's going to be missing some time as well because Niesman's a good backup safety. I feel like if he played, the drop-off wouldn't be as big. But you're playing Redwine, you're playing Adrian Colbert, and these are guys you just picked up a couple of days ago. It's not an ideal situation, so that was a big loss. But the defense overall, I think, was a mixed bag. If Darnold capitalized on a couple of throws in the red zone in the first half, they could have given up a lot more. But in the second half, they definitely played a lot better. I think the tackling was pretty good. The corners played well. The corners didn't give up too much. The cornerbacks played a good game. I think the pass rush was good. When they got opportunities, Carolina was getting the ball out really fast, so they didn't have a lot of chances to make plays. But when they did have extended dropbacks, usually they were getting back there and getting hits on Darnold. McCaffrey's just always open underneath, so it was easy for him to get the ball out and just check it down and be able to avoid sacks and turn them into short gains. But the pass rush, I think, was good. The biggest problem was just stopping Christian McCaffrey. In the passing game, the linebackers underneath couldn't cover him. And then in the run game, I think even though they limited his big plays by tackling really well, the DBs made some good tackles. The linebackers did tackle well. But the first level of the run defense, I think, was the issue. McCaffrey got a lot of chunk gains. He averaged almost 5 yards per carry without even getting a 20-yard run. And that goes to show how consistent he was at setting up Darnold with third and medium and third and short, which is a huge way to help out your quarterback. And it was that first level. The edge guys sort of struggled against the run, and the linebackers just weren't taking great angles. Hamza Nasruddin really struggled in this game against the run. So I think those were the biggest issues on defense. But it was a mixed bag. There were some good performances, especially at corner. I think the pass rush, Franklin Myers, Huff, Bryce Huff, both of those guys rushed really well. And Quinnen, I think he could have been more dominant considering this matchup. It definitely was disappointing, but he was still pretty good. He had 4 pressures in this game. That's a good total. So I think there was a good mix of positive things and negatives with the defense.
Yeah, overall, I saw your tweet earlier about the Jets and the corners being number 3 on a yards per target basis with, I think it was the Eagles were first and the 49ers were second. So it was a pleasant surprise. Now, I do think it's probably a little grain of salt since they were able to be so effective with Christian McCaffrey. You didn't really have to go too hard after the corners. This game was all about, for me, I think, making Sam beat you with his arm, and you had to focus on Christian McCaffrey, and he just ripped us apart the whole game. I think that really it was not what I wanted to see out of this team. I would have liked to have seen some more pressure, or maybe like I don't know. With the matchup that we had, the offensive line going into Carolina, they were playing a backup right guard already. They had Elfline went out at one point. So there was really kind of a piecemeal together offensive line aside from Moulton on the right side there. And I thought that was going to be an area we could really exploit. And then on the offensive side of the ball, definitely did not see that offensive line coming the way it did. Definitely surprised me. I thought the lack of push up front to be able to open up some lanes in the running game just crippled us across the board. Going back briefly to the Robert Saleh and like decision making and everything, we didn't get to see a challenge or anything like that where we could judge that type of judgment. But I really liked. I think it was a 3rd and 2. I could be wrong. It was in the third quarter, and he burns a timeout after going to the line of scrimmage. And originally, I'm thinking, what are you doing? Like, why are we burning a timeout? It's early in the third quarter, and then I didn't realize just how important that drive was. And I believe we scored a touchdown on that drive after, like, we got the first down on the next play and we wound up scoring with Corey Davis. I hoping I'm not screwing that up. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. But I thought that was a calculated timeout in a time that was extremely pivotal in that game. I feel like I don't know if you felt the same way, but watching Wilson kind of work the defense and this offense in the second half, I think if the Jets had gotten the ball back on that onside kick or had another chance with the ball, I think there was a real good shot the Jets had at pulling a victory out, stealing a win here. This game could have looked a lot worse. Sam missed an open touchdown early, and then he had Rule making some questionable decisions on the opposite sideline, doesn't kick the 52-yarder, doesn't kick the, 35-yarder or something like that inside, and then they missed the extra point. So really there's like 7 points kind of missing from the scoreboard that could have made this game look a little worse. It felt worse, I think, than the final score, I guess, indicated. Defensively, like the corners, I liked seeing Mosley kind of fly around. I don't know how he did on like a play-by-play basis, but it felt good kind of seeing him out there. I kind of credit the linebackers the most with the inability to get to McCaffrey. And is that right in saying that, or is that like the defensive line not opening up those kind of lanes for the linebackers to come through and attack him? Like, what would have been the best way for us to kind of stop that beast of a man over there?
Yeah, in terms of the run game, I think Mosley played pretty good, but I think some of the other linebackers, Del'Shawn Phillips ended up playing a lot of snaps when Sherwood went out early. I think him and Nasruddin really struggled with their angles. And to be fair, I think the defensive line did kind of struggle against the run. Quinnen, and just the guys up front, Huff on the edge. Huff did make one really good play that stood out where he tossed the tight end aside, but there were a couple plays where he got moved. I just think they did get moved a little bit on that first level. But they did clean up really well behind that with the secondary, made some good plays against the run. And they tackled well. I think that was something they did do well. It was really scary to think about these guys trying to tackle McCaffrey and getting juked out. He can truck guys over. I think he can do that. But just missing tackles and giving up extra plays in the second level, third level, that didn't really happen. But he was able to consistently get chunk gains. And I think that was mostly a combination of the linebackers and the D-line. In the passing game, though, some of it was just man-to-man. Mosley did get burned once on an angle route over the middle. That one comes to mind. But other than that, there was a lot of just wide-open checkdowns. I think a lot of it was kind of more schematic than anything. They were trying to help out the cornerbacks a lot, playing conservatively in coverage, and there just weren't enough reinforcements underneath. I have to watch it back again once I get a hold of the film once it comes out, but a lot of the catches he made, there wasn't really anything the linebackers were doing that was wrong. There was just nobody there. So I'm not, again, I'll have to watch it again and see exactly what was going on. Were maybe the linebackers carrying guys too far up the field? Were they blitzing and when they maybe shouldn't have? Were there miscommunications? Was it just schematic where they weren't accounting for it enough? It could be a combination of those things, but a lot of the catches he is making, it was just, there was a check down, there were 10 yards in front of him. So I think they could have schematically focused on that more and kind of forced Darnold to beat them more, because they did not force Darnold to beat them in this game. He was able to throw almost 70% of his passes in under 2.5 seconds. That was the highest rate. 67% is the exact number. The highest rate in the league this week in terms of getting the ball out that quickly. So the Panthers were able to make things easy for Darnold. And the pass rush did the best it could, but I think schematically the Jets could have blitzed him more often and forced the Panthers to kind of abandon that sort of game and make Darnold have to read the field and drop back more. But in the end, they did hold them to 19 points, which is good enough. But like you said, there were points out there that were left that the defense should have given up that weren't capitalized on. There's missed extra point. And they had 2 trips, I believe, inside the 10-yard line where they got 3 points out of it. So it could have been a lot worse, but ultimately they did only get 19 points out of their dink and dunk offense, which you live with. But there are a lot of areas they can improve, and I think the underneath coverage on running backs is a big one, and just up front on the edge, the interior, and the angles that the linebackers are taking, filling their gaps, I think can improve to take away that first-level yardage in the run game to prevent running backs from being consistent in the run game so they could set up the quarterback with easy third and medium, third and short situations.
Richard Delgado, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, as a Cowboys fan, I'm just glad they didn't do as bad as the Packers. Very confused why you would care. Either way, I guess. But awesome. Thank you so much for the super chat. Watching Christian McCaffrey and seeing how this defense kind of reacted, it makes me feel a little bit better going into like this Patriots matchup where it's not quite as dynamic of a running back. Maybe I'm mistaken on that, but it seems like the Jets should have more success But then again, they have the two good tight ends, and I'm not so sure our linebackers are going to be, up to snuff in the coverage department. But who knows? We'll see. So now I want to talk a little bit about the offense and what we thought about Zach Wilson. He finishes the day 20 of 37, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. I was pretty impressed with what I saw by and large. I think there was a ton of drops. I want to say there was at least 5 drops, which to me, and especially the Elijah Moore one, that one really hurt. But I think when you look at it, that stat line could have been so much better if those drops wind up being catches. You're talking probably close to 350 yards and possibly another touchdown if they're really kind of clicking on all cylinders there. And for the amount of pressure he wound up dealing with, I was really impressed with the way he kind of responded. It felt at the end of the game that I was confident that he was going to make the right decisions. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but I didn't quite get that from Sam in his time here. So talk to me. What do you think about Zach's performance?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think this was a performance where he's in his NFL debut. He's on the road. He's missing a couple of his receivers who would play a big role. So already going into it, these are tough circumstances. And then the game starts and he's pressured constantly in a lot of different ways too. I think the variety, the pressure that he faced in this game is what makes his reaction to it really impressive, because it's not like there was one guy in the line getting beat constantly and you can account for that. The pressure is coming from your left side, coming from your right side. And the team can put a tight end there. It wasn't like that. It was there were blitzes up the middle they couldn't pick up. There were unblocked guys off the edge. All 5 starters were getting beat at some point. So it was coming from everywhere, and he could never establish that rhythm because there were so many different issues he had to account for. But even with that, he still, and there were mistakes. There were definitely plays in this game. There were sacks he took he could have thrown away. The interception was not good. After that, he threw an interception that was dropped. But even accounting for those, I still think this was overall, even without a rookie curve, still a decent to good quarterbacking performance considering how many plays he made, despite the amount of pressure that he took. And like you said, the drops, if you throw those in, his stat line would have been significantly, it's even okay as it is. But even with all the pressure he took, he was able to put up an okay stat line. And that's with a lot of yardage taken away from the drops. He had officially, I think, 5 drops in this game, which was 20% of his catchable passes. That was the highest rate in the league this week so far. So he took a huge hit with those. And one of them was an amazing throw to Elijah Moore in the first quarter. That was definitely my favorite throw of the game. And he made a lot of good ones to choose from. But that one in the first quarter where he stepped up from the pressure and just flicked it downfield to Moore, gave him a chance over the shoulder, right in the breadbasket. That was a beautiful throw. And hopefully Moore can make those catches going forward, but it is promising that he's open for that play. But I agree overall. I think this was an impressive performance, the way he was able to stay mostly poised under the pressure and make a lot of big-time throws into tight windows, low percentage throws down the field that he was connecting on. And just the fact that, because I think he started really well, played a good first quarter. Second quarter, things kind of went off the rails a little bit. Third quarter struggled. So the fact that he was able to fight through that and then come back in the fourth quarter and have a really good, and at the end of the third quarter, have a really good finish to the game and lead them, within one score in the last 2 minutes was really impressive. He fought through a lot of things in this game and made a lot of big plays, both from start to finish. So this was a very impressive debut. I think something that he can build off of in ways both positive and negative. There were flashes of the talent and there were mistakes he made that he can learn from. And it's good that he's making early and can be able to see them on film so he can evaluate them, analyze them, and understand how he can prevent himself from making them again.
Yeah, the offensive line really kind of it just kills me because I really I thought for sure going into it. I knew there was going to be times where you had to see the whole line gel together, and it was going to take time. I would say middle of the season is when this line will start clicking on all cylinders. Vera Tucker gets his first action of the season, and to me, I just watching it like live, I was like, man, I don't know why George Fent is playing the right side of the line right now. Like it felt like that's where a lot of the heat was coming from. And I don't know if it was so much him as much as it was maybe the running back not picking up the blitz coming off that side at the same time. I just felt like there was ways to possibly neutralize that pass rush of a really good Carolina defensive line. They could be a top 10 line with Burns and Brooks. So I don't know. I would have liked to see some screens, maybe kind of slow down the pass rush. But yeah, I think Mekhi going down, we learned today he's out 4 to 6 weeks, I think was the report, with like a dislocated knee. I didn't realize this, but Mekhi hadn't been practicing the last like 2-3 weeks, and Fant was actually playing left tackle. Morgan Moses was playing right tackle. So I think that's why it felt maybe a little better in the fourth quarter. Like there might have been a little cohesion there. How worried are you about Mekhi Becton not being in there? And what do you think of George Fant playing left tackle and Moses playing right tackle?
Yeah, well, in terms of the offensive line in this game, in pass protection, definitely did not expect it to be this bad because they were really bad. And it was right on par with what we've seen the past couple of years. I believe Wilson was pressured on 51% of his dropbacks, which was second highest in the league this week. So obviously that's really bad. But pass protection definitely was a question going in because the Panthers do have a good pass rush up front with Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, and Derek Brown. But I'm more concerned about what we saw in the run game. And look, obviously the pass protection is terrible, but the run game, they had a favorable matchup because Carolina struggled against the run last year. They didn't do much to improve it. And as good as those guys I mentioned are against the pass, they do kind of compromise against the run because they're so aggressive upfield that they kind of leave themselves vulnerable against the run. But they did not take advantage of that matchup either. This is an offense that needs the run game to be successful. We saw that Mike LaFleur really wanted to establish that run game, and it took him a while until he kind of realized it wasn't going to work and abandoned it. But if this offense is going to be successful, they have to be able to run the ball well, establish that threat of play action so they can attack downfield consistently and in favorable situations. But if you're going to average 2.6 yards a carry, it's just not going to happen. And that all started with the offensive line. The holes just left to right, really everybody wasn't creating any holes in the run game. And I think the tight ends were mainly Ryan Griffin was a big part of that as well. He played a lot of snaps, 48% in this game, and he struggled a lot in the run game. So he was a part of it as well. I think Croft was okay, but Griffin he hurt the team a lot, I think, with his blocking. But yeah, losing Becton is definitely a hit. But I think, like you said, things looked a little bit better near the end when Moses was in at right tackle and Fant was at left tackle. Because I think Fant, left tackle might be a better fit for him, just based on, I think, his best game last year. I forget which game it was. It might have been Miami or Arizona, I believe, the beginning of the season. One of those games. But when he played left tackle, one of those two starts that he got in, it was one of his best games of the season. And maybe that's a better fit for him. And I think Moses, going with Fant at right tackle over Moses was definitely interesting. It seemed like Moses had won that job because he was getting first team reps at right tackle in the preseason. Fant was playing left tackle, and he was it seemed like they were grooming Fant to be that swing tackle backup, but it was an interesting decision. And I think in the run game, he's a good fit, but in pass protection, and Moses is better in the run game too, but just based on Moses' experience, his durability, and I think he is a more talented player or accomplished player overall, I thought they would go with him, and it didn't seem like the best decision, but we'll see how it works going forward. But with Becton, it's definitely a huge relief that it's only 4 to 6 weeks. It definitely, by all signs, seemed like he's going to be done for the year. So the fact that it's only going to be about a quarter of the season, maybe a little bit more, is a huge plus. But at the same time, it's still a bummer that they'll be without him for a few weeks. I think the run game is going to take a big hit without him because I do think he played well in the run game. Where even though everyone else didn't, I think Becton did look pretty good in the run game. So it's a bummer that they'll be without him. But this position is definitely the one that was the most disappointing in this game and has the most room to improve going forward on either side of the ball.
Yeah, I was going to say I really didn't like the decision to go with Fant over Morgan Moses on the right-hand side. It just seemed like throughout all of preseason, that's, like you said, Moses should have started, and then Fant was going to be the swing tackle. And then I thought they would have done a few more like jumbo packages with Fant maybe just outside, almost lining up like a tight end kind of to help on the blocking side of things. And I think you saw the run game get a little bit better with Morgan Moses on the right-hand side, kind of leading the way. I think Pro Football Focus had him graded out as like a top 10 right tackle last year in terms of like run blocking. So it would have been nice to see. I'm seeing people left and right on, different forums and Twitter talking about how when Becton comes back, would it make sense to play him at right guard because of the speed that Fant has versus the maybe more cumbersome movement that Becton has? What would you say to fans that are
Becton at guard?
Yep. What would you say to fans that just want to throw guys together in different spots?
I don't know about that. I mean, I was a fan of putting Moses at guard maybe, and so Fant could play right tackle before the season. I thought that was maybe a possibility just because of in this wide zone scheme. I didn't think Moses really had the athleticism, but I mean, Becton's a left tackle in the NFL. He was 21 years old last season as a rookie, and pretty much unanimously considered a top 10, borderline top 10 left tackle. Not in that group, but probably like 10th, 11th, 12th, around there. Despite all the injuries he fought through, he can play left tackle in the league. I don't think there's any issue with him there. He has the athleticism. He has great length, which is great for the tackle position. And like I've seen some people applying like his foot speed isn't good enough. Like he definitely has that. When he gets beat, it's because guys can get underneath him. They can get into his chest because it's so hard for him to get down because he is so tall. So against those guys who played their hands in the dirt, like a Carl Lawson, a smaller guy who doesn't have a ton of length, who is low to the ground, can get underneath them. That's what he struggles with more. But the foot quickness is definitely there. The run blocking is dominant, and the pass protection ability last season was still good. There were certain guys he did struggle with, like Lawson types, but with speed rushers, like stand-up outside linebackers, he has the athleticism and length to really shut those guys down, like Melvin Ingram, the few reps he got against Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa as well, the few reps he got against him, Justin Houston. He did good against those players. So putting Becton at guard, I think, is pretty ridiculous. He's a left tackle for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Just getting better on the offensive line, I think, is going to solve a lot of woes. I'm hoping, maybe it's just first game jitters and we'll see more of what we got in the second half in the first half and second half of the upcoming game against the Patriots. What did you think? I want to get your opinion on Amendola and what you thought of the special teams with Man getting knocked out early in this game.
Yeah, well, it was just crazy to watch. This is a guy who, I had to check after the game and make sure that he had never punted before because it was crazy how good he did. He was legitimately great. With his first one was a 50-yarder, the next one 65, and he was just pinpointing those kicks right along the sideline, getting them out of bounds with no chance to return. So that was really admirable what he was able to do to come in and do that. I think he should be the special teams player of the week. But with that being said, I think we have to be objective about it and realize that with Man being out 4 to 6 weeks now at least, that as great as it would be to kind of have him take up 2 roster spots and hold that down, I think it would be a little bit too risky to rely on him to keep that going because as great as his production was in this game, a lot of his punts were line drives that, luckily he did kick them out of bounds, but his hang time in this game was really low. It was worse. His hang time, I think, was about 3.9 seconds, which is worse than the worst punter in the league last season in terms of hang time. So that's concerning. Because if he's not going to get those punts out of bounds like he did in this game, then you're just going to be getting the ball. You're going to be gift wrapping really good return opportunities to the other team, and it could be destructive. So I think it was a great performance. It was awesome to watch, and it's good to know he can do that. But I do think they should probably pick up a real punter for the next few weeks while Brady Man is out. I think it would be risky to go with him over the next 4 to 6 weeks because this is a guy who, look, as good as he was, he had never, not high school, not college, punted one time in a game before. So I think it would be a little bit reactionary to think he could do it for an extended period based off of one game. But it was really fun to watch for sure. It was awesome. But it will be interesting to see how they handle that with Man out for a few weeks now.
Yeah, I can't endorse using the field goal kicker that I feel probably most confident with that we've had in the last 2 years and put him in like the firing zone, because God forbid you have one kicker on the roster and then he gets hit on like a punt or something like that, and now he's knocked out. Now you don't score your 3 points, your 1 point, you wind up going for 2 all the time. It would be a whole mess of a situation.
And there's also a holder too, because you sign another punter, he probably has experience holding kicks. If you don't sign him, then you're probably relying on Mike White to hold your field goals. Maybe he doesn't have a ton of experience doing that, so that's another aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that can't be understated. You think you're going for a game-winning field goal, and then all of a sudden the backup quarterback muffs the snap a la Tony Romo, and you can't like get it going again. That would be absolutely awful. I would have liked to have seen some actual field goal attempts from Amendola, but I didn't really think of the holding issue that could have potentially reared its head later in the game. So it's probably good that they were going for 2, both times, even though it was a smart move based on the score anyway.
Yeah.
What did you think? And I guess I'm kind of all over the place. We're going offense, but special teams. What did you think of the wide receivers? Corey Davis puts up like 5 receptions, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. What did you think of him? What did you think of Berrios, Mims, the whole cast of characters? How are the Jets looking right now?
Yeah, I love this performance from Corey Davis, and he had the one drop later in the game on an underneath pass, but he did plenty more than enough to make up for it. He looks like a legitimate number 1 wideout in the league. He looked ready to take that leap as the team's number 1 guy. He made contested catches over the middle. He separated on that. He was able to improvise on the first touchdown, get himself open for that play. Separated in the end zone on the second touchdown. His speed after the catch was great. His awareness on the catch he made before the second touchdown to get out of bounds, even though the 2-minute warning went out already, so it didn't matter. He's a little bit late. Just the fact that he knew to do that was great to see from a guy who's going to be touching the ball a lot in key situations. So he was very impressive. There was, other than the second drop, nothing not to like about what Corey Davis did. And then in terms of other guys, it was a mixed bag. Elijah Moore, this was his first NFL game, didn't play in the preseason. There were some jitters. But like I said earlier with that first drop, I think even though he didn't make that catch and you want him to make it going forward, just the fact that he was open for that play is great. Then there was the deep pass in the fourth quarter that Wilson underthrew a little bit. Again, Moore was open enough for that play for him to try that. So there were flashes of good separation from Moore in this game, even though he did have that drop in the first quarter. And I believe there was another short pass he dropped too. Even though the production wasn't there, I think you saw flashes of what makes him great. But I would like to see them manufacture more touches for him, more screens, jet sweeps, end arounds, just to establish that threat, to open things up for your offense so you can fake those things and work concepts off of them, because teams will respect it more the more you do it. So I would like to see some more Elijah Moore. But the Denzel Mims situation is very interesting. He only plays 3 snaps. He comes in. Huge spot at the end of the game, makes a 40-yard catch. And it wasn't an amazing 40-yard catch. They busted coverage. He was wide open. But, it's still notable when, a talented player like that comes in, makes a big play right away, while the rest of the team does nothing the entire game. But I think with Mims, as much as I would love to see him play, and I think he deserves it, I think you do have to kind of trust the coaching staff in this one a little bit, because I think by all means they would love for him to be playing. Joe Douglas selected him in the second round last year. I think the team would love for him to, a guy with his size, his capabilities, to be playing instead of Jeff Smith, instead of Braxton Berrios. But there's something going on that we just don't know about, and we're just not going to know about, because they're not going to throw him under the bus. That's not what this team does. So I think that's just what it's going to be, whatever it is, whether it's the playbook, which seems like what they hinted at a little bit, just understanding the concepts and the ability to play multiple roles, whether it's in the slot, the Z receiver role, X receiver, whatever it is, there's a reason that they're not comfortable with him playing. I think they would. I don't think there's just some vendetta against Denzel Mims for whatever reason, because the GM who drafted him is still here in the second round last year. I think they would love for him to be playing, and there's a legitimate reason he's not. So it's frustrating to watch. It would be great to see him, Moore, and Davis on the field throughout the whole game. But whatever the reason is, I don't think we're ever going to get it, at least not for a long time. And it's just how it is. Whatever the reason is, I don't think we're going to get it, but we have to. I think it's the smart decision to just trust the coaching staff that there's a good reason he's not playing more.
Guys, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor, BetQL. Want to get an advantage over your sportsbook? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their Best Bets computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets. Don't want to use the model and prefer to do your own research? BetQL has all the necessary tools for your research needs. There's sharp data so you can see who the pros are backing, line movement so you can jump on betting opportunities in real time, team summaries highlighting previous success against the spread and over-under, and team lineup breaking news and injury status updates. Plus, you can save all your picks in one place to track your success and winning streaks as well as view your rank on their leaderboards. Head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also head to try.betql.co/JetsTalk to get started now. Enter discount code JetsTalk at payment checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. You can find all this information in the description of this video. Make sure to check out their BetMGM offer in the description in order to receive a free year of BetQL. Also check out their sportsbook offers page if you live in any of the eligible states to claim free offers upon signing up for one of the many sportsbooks listed. Don't miss out on your chance to beat your sportsbook this football season. Yeah, so going back to the wide receivers, talking about Denzel Mims, I definitely would have loved to have seen more from him. I think a lot of Jet fans are kind of in that same boat. I was listening to the Michael Kay show on my way home from work today, and they actually had Robert Saleh on, and he was talking about how we just didn't sustain enough drives because our top three receivers were Berrios, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. And when you only go like 3 and out or only have 5 reps in a series, you're not getting those, breathers for the other receivers to come out and to have guys like a Denzel Mims coming in. And then he did allude to the fact that like there is something playbook related to Mims, and I don't know if it's route running or playbook in general, but he said if he could learn, how to play each of the other positions, like anything else, it makes you more valuable. You're going to see the field more because there's more opportunities when one of those three at a different position would come out and then he can sub in as well. So I'm with you on that. I think Corey Davis, Mims, Elijah Moore, that would be the 3 receivers I would love to see out on the field all the time. And I do think you have to trust the coaching staff. It just, he's such a physical talent at his size and his speed. I really would like to just get more and more Denzel Mims. Like, I don't care if let him learn on the fly. He's talented enough to go up and get it. But then when he runs a wrong route and Wilson throws an interception, then, the seams kind of fall apart. I love Corey Davis. I think he is absolutely a number 1 wide receiver. I wasn't sure what to get out of him. I drafted him late in my fantasy leagues. I had him on the bench. I had Antonio Brown on the bench, and I had Gronkowski on the bench. That's I need Lamar to drop 30
I started
points
Davis in 1 league, so I was able to reap the benefits this week.
Oh yeah, dude, it killed me. I was like, I'm not. Normally, I don't draft Jet players because if they're going to disappoint me in real life, I don't need them to disappoint me in my fantasy team as well. But Corey Davis, he's going to be a solid start, for me the rest of the season. I think there is a legitimate connection with him and Wilson, and it feels like Zach trusts Corey Davis to go up and make a play, and that's comforting. I think Elijah Moore, I want to say it was all the rookie kind of jitters and just nerves maybe in the first game, trying to do too much. The short crossing route that you alluded to earlier, he kind of looked at who was going to hit him before he secured the ball and just dropped it. I mean, he wasn't going to get very far, maybe 3-4 yards. The deep pass down the field, that was a beautifully thrown ball. I really would have loved to have seen him make that catch. And then I agree. I think if you could get him on some jet sweeps or you get him on some bubble screens out on the side, I think that his elusiveness, it feels like it would be hard to tackle him in a phone booth. Like his feet are just so fast. And I think you have to try and utilize that, especially when you have, so much pressure coming up on Zach Wilson. You throw a quick slant or something like that, and he has the talent to take it to the house. That's the type of speed he has. From Berrios' standpoint, I want to say he was 5 receptions, 51 yards or something along those lines. I liked what I got out of him, to the point where, as much as I like Crowder, I feel like that slot position is not like, we're deeper. We have more. We have Berrios. If the opportunity arises at some point this season prior to the trade deadline, I do think it would be a smart move to flip Crowder for whatever you can get. He's not going to be on this team next year. And I guess that's sort of a little, I don't want to say a saving grace, but I think it's a nice thing that we have Berrios on this team, that it kind of gives you that sort of flexibility. Because if we didn't feel comfortable with Berrios and you only had Elijah Moore, then I think you probably try to hold on to Crowder as long as possible to try and help your quarterback develop. But I don't necessarily think that Crowder is needed to make the offense click and to really grade Zach Wilson. What were your thoughts on Berrios, and what would you think of possibly moving Crowder at some point during the season?
Yeah, I agree. This was a good performance by Berrios, and I'm a big Crowder fan. I've gone to bat for him a lot. I think he is a better player than Berrios, but Berrios played a good game, and because of, like you said, Crowder's clearly not going to be here next year. So if a good offer comes around, then you absolutely take that trade, because I think the drop off is small enough to where you can feel good with him. And I think Keelan Cole can play a lot of slot for you too. That's why I think Cole is a big loss, because his versatility is what I think they want in these receivers that Denzel Mims kind of at least hasn't shown them yet. The ability to play all over the field, which I think Keelan Cole can really do. So he's a big loss too, and I think he could help you in the present as you help your rookie quarterback rebound from the Crowder loss if you trade him. So, but Berrios in this game, I think was a good Berrios performance. The extent of what he can do without some of the mishaps that he has. I think that where Crowder is an upgrade mainly is I think he's better with the ball in his hands. I think there's more he can do if you throw him a screen, like we saw in the season opener last year against the Bills, where he took that screen about 70 yards to the house, whatever it was. I think he can do more with the ball in his hands. I think he's more of a deep threat in terms of his vertical speed, his ability to create separation in those routes. But in terms of the short game, and Crowder's really good at that too. I think he's a good all-around player. But in this game, we saw Berrios has that short area quickness, that ability to separate short to intermediate. And he made some big catches in this game, especially in that drive in those couple of scoring drives near the end of the game. So this was a good performance from him. And it just goes to show you how good this team's depth is, because, the Jets are down 2 receivers in this game to get to Berrios. He's, near the bottom of the depth chart. Whereas last year, he's starting a lot of games. If one receiver goes down, he would be playing. So he's a good depth piece for sure. And I think that, like you said, if good offer for Crowder comes around, then by all means go for it. I think you could feel good about Berrios as your 4th receiver this year to be able to make that trade. So this was a good performance from him for sure. His biggest issue, I think, is, like I said, I don't think he creates much with the ball. There was one screen they threw to him on a 3rd and 8, I think, where I would have loved to see Elijah Moore get that ball instead, because Berrios just doesn't make plays on those screens. As good as he is as a punt returner, it just doesn't translate to offense for him. So that and drops he does struggle with, because he doesn't really catch the ball with his hands. He's a big body catcher, and that leads to a lot of drops. And so that's something he struggles with as well, but didn't show up too much in this game. He might have had one drop. I'm not sure if he had one or not, but overall he played well in this game.
Yeah, you mentioned Keelan Cole, and he was probably, I was excited for Corey Davis, but Keelan Cole was one player that I just really enjoyed watching through the One Jets Drive episodes, through his highlight tapes. He's just so good at the contested catches, and he feels like a really, I call him glue guys for the locker room. Like, you have someone that can just joke around, have fun, but still get the job done. And I think his versatility, his speed, and everything that he brings to the table was missed yesterday. And I actually haven't followed too closely in terms of his timeline for return. Do you know anything about how many games he's expected to miss? I know it's a knee, but I don't know how severe the injury is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they gave a timetable. I just know he was a game time decision for this game. So, hopefully it's not too long. I know he's not on IR yet. So I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think in the locker room too, like you mentioned, he really brings a lot there. Which, of course, you don't really lose with him being injured, but he definitely helps a lot in that aspect. But like I said earlier, just his versatility is a big part of his game. Throughout his career, he's played about the same. He's played pretty much 50-50 between slot and the outside, and that's varied from season to season. There have been seasons where he was a slot receiver for Jacksonville, and then there was last season where he was mostly an outside receiver for them and a deep threat. So he could do a lot of things. Obviously, he's not particularly outstanding in anything, or he would be a superstar, but he's good at a lot of different things. I think that makes him a very useful piece to have around.
Guys, if you're just tuning in, just hanging out with us, just joining us, I have Michael Nania from Jets X Factor here with me. All his social media, Twitter, and the Jets X Factor page are linked in the description of this video, so make sure you head over there and follow them. They are my first stop for all Jets-related content in terms of statistics and film breakdown. I legitimately watched. I saw you and Joe doing a live stream after one of the games. I want to say it was the Packer game, and you guys bring up the Hardy film breakdown from Blue It, and I was like, well, now I got to go over and watch 35, 40 minutes of Justin Hardy like film breakdown. I absolutely love it. I'm like captivated by the entire thing, and then I jumped back in the stream. And you guys went till like, I think Joe said you guys were on till like 2 a.m. It was absolutely insane. But that's awesome, dude. You guys are doing a lot of good stuff over at Jets X Factor, and I've really enjoyed it. I've got Michael with us for about another 12 minutes or so, and I want to jump into the upcoming game on our schedule, and that's Jets versus Patriots, Jets home opener. And I want to get your thoughts on where you're kind of feeling the Jets are, where the Patriots are, what we could possibly exploit, or what we might struggle with. And there's a lot on the line right now because the Dolphins beat the Patriots, the Bills lose to the Steelers, the Jets lost to the Panthers. Technically, since we lost to an NFC team, we are second in the division. If we beat the Patriots and Miami gets thumped by the Bills like I think they will after being ticked off from losing to the Steelers, the Jets would own first place in the division.
There we go.
Just saying. Just saying. So what are your thoughts on the Jets-Patriots matchup coming up this week?
Yeah, it definitely is interesting to have. We're 2 weeks in, but it's still cool to have those stakes. The fact that the Patriots lost as well last week. But going into the Panthers game, I kind of looked at it as the Panthers being a better matchup for the Jets than the Patriots. I thought they'd win that game and lose to New England. But I think there are definitely some aspects of this matchup that are good for the Jets and some matchups that are bad. I think the Patriots' offensive line is a lot better than Carolina's, but in week one didn't necessarily look like that because the offensive line was the biggest issue for the Patriots in their loss to Miami. So that was out of character for them. But the worrying thing, I think, is Bill Belichick and his history against rookie quarterbacks. We know how successful he can be against young quarterbacks, just dialing things up for them, making it difficult. So I'm worried about that. But we also have Robert Saleh going up against a rookie quarterback in his first start on the road. So I think this defense has a chance to have a good game as long as they can create a pass rush. And I think in this game, they're going to be more aggressive blitzing. I think they're going to see what happened to them against Darnold in the first game. And they're going to realize that this is a good pass rush, but the corners played well enough in this game against a better wide receiver core in Carolina than what New England has, for you to feel a little bit confident to bring the pressure a little bit, that those guys can hold up behind it. And against a New England team that has a good offensive line that as long as they play better than that first game, a good offensive line that should be able to hold up against your four-man rush. And you have a rookie quarterback behind it playing on the road, again, in front of 80,000 fans at MetLife that are going to be wild first game in 2 years. I think they're going to bring the pressure a little bit more. And Robert Saleh has shown that adaptability, that he's willing to change and just adjust things based on what's working, what's not working. And I think looking at what happened against Carolina last week, looking at this New England team, I think they're going to test Mac Jones. They're going to test that offensive line after it struggled last week against Miami, and bring some pressure and trust those rookie corners to hold up. Because in the first game, Michael Carter II, Bryce Hall, those two guys especially, played really well and showed you that they can be trusted to hold up. One game, we'll see if they can maintain it, but I think that is going to be the approach defensively. And then on the other side of the ball, the New England defense did play pretty well against Miami, held them to 17 points. I'm looking forward to analyzing them more throughout the week in terms of the specific things that worked for them and didn't. But The New England defense, Zach Wilson against Bill Belichick, he's going to get a lot of things thrown at him. But I think the good thing is that Carolina kind of does a lot of that in terms of mixing up coverages pre and post snap. We saw a lot of the Panthers would line up and have no safeties back, then they drop two, or they'd have one and then he'd rotate over and another guy would come back. The Panthers do a lot of that. And that's why the Panthers last year, even though their defense was bad in 2020, when they played young year one or year two quarterbacks, they're really successful. They did play well against those guys because of the unique things that they do. So I think it's good for Wilson that he was able to see a defense like that in his first game before going up against Belichick the following week, just to get some experience with those sort of things that Belichick might throw at him. So there are some tough aspects of this matchup. You mentioned earlier the tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry against these linebackers is going to be tough. A much different type of challenge than McCaffrey. You're talking more size and contested catch ability than quickness, but a challenge nonetheless. So this is really interesting. Another game that I think Carolina was a pretty even matchup and turned out to be one-score game. And I think they're pretty evenly matched with the Patriots as well, especially having home field in this game. So it should be a really exciting matchup.
Matthew Roman, thank you so much for becoming a member of the Jets Talk 24/7 family, brother. Means a whole lot to me. If you're a member of the channel, drop some JETS in the chat for our newest member, Matthew. Yeah, when I'm looking at this Patriots matchup, I think for me, at least on the offensive side of the ball, it's a different kind of challenge. Because like you said, McCaffrey has a lot of speed. Like I feel like maybe I'm being a little not enthusiastic, but I don't want to say confident, but maybe there's an opportunity to at least chip the tight end at the line of scrimmage as opposed to McCaffrey where he could kind of go any direction coming out of the backfield. So I do think that we might stand a better chance of not getting kind of embarrassed by their running back. I feel like we've always kind of struggled with that fast back, guys like a Kamara that could really be dynamic out of the backfield, not just as like a downhill runner. And I'm curious to see, because I'm pretty sure Damian Harris fumbled late in that game to kind of give the Dolphins the win. So I wonder if there's any repercussions coming from the Belichick side of things, because usually when something goes wrong and you do something stupid, there's usually like, okay, you're going to see less touches, or you're going to see, maybe you're going to be blocking more. It's going to be interesting to see. I think on the defensive side, I would love to see them bring some pressure, because I don't see Mac Jones as a very mobile quarterback. Like for me, Sam is more mobile than a Mac Jones. I do think Mac is probably the better. It's hard for me to say the better passer because it's only been one game, but I would have felt confident in the Jets winning against Carolina if we forced Sam to throw the ball, aside from the whole running back situation. On the offensive side of the ball for the Jets, we got to establish the running game. We cannot do anything if we're constantly in 2nd and 8, 3rd and 7, like these long downs and distances. You saw when they got to like a 3rd and 2, it opens the playbook up so much more, and you're able to make those conversions easier. And I also think Wilson, you're able to scramble for those 2 yards if he had to. I think when you have 7, 8 yards, the chances of you being able to get that at any point is just going to be a lot harder. So getting to reasonable downs and distances, I think, is important, whether that is by way of the running game or by way of maybe some short slants or some bubble screens or things like that you can kind of manufacture some space. And then from the tight ends, I like Croft. If he can stay healthy, I think we have a decent starter. I do think we're going to address tight end early next year in the draft or in free agency. Just kind of looking ahead to like our draft picks. It seems like if the Jets play like how they played yesterday, that we could be headed for a top 10 pick. An edge rusher would be absolutely amazing at the top of the draft. And then I'm kind of keeping my eye out on that center from Iowa. I think it's Linderbaum,
Yeah.
whatever his name is. That would be like, just work your way across the line. Becton, AVT, friggin' new center, and then you got to figure out, right guard, right tackle. I do think that one of Fant or Moses will be back next year to hopefully lock down that other side. Who knows? But yeah, I think offensive line wise, getting to reasonable downs and distances is going to be very crucial. I think them not having Stephon Gilmore is definitely a plus for us on the defensive side. I think we could see some really good action out of Corey Davis again. Zach Wilson, just show me more of the same. I'd love to go through this next game, avoid the turnover. I'd like to see him just have some more time, because it felt like when he had those 3.5, 4 seconds, maybe. I don't know if he got the 4 seconds, but when he had a little bit more time to kind of go through his whole drop back and step up into the pocket, he was making the right decisions, and he put the ball on the money like everywhere. It was absolutely awesome to watch. Now, I don't know. What if you had to predict a stat line? What would you? I mean, aside from like 500 yards, zillion touchdowns, what would you say a realistic like expectation for Wilson game 2?
Yeah, I think they want. So he threw 37 passes in this game. I think they want to get that down. I think they would like see him be more around that 30 mark. And it's like you said, it starts with the run game. So if they can establish the run game at home early on, get into a lead, not have to force him to throw the ball later, I think he'll get the attempts down. He'll get the completion percentage up, because, hopefully more passes will be caught this time. That hurt his completion percentage. But, I mean, he played good enough to have – you just throw in the Elijah Moore catch, and he has the 300-yard game, despite all the pressure he faced in the Panthers game. So I'm not going to be ridiculous and say, oh, he should have had 350 yards, now he'll have 400 this week. But I do think that in this game, he'll be able to settle down from some of them. I don't think the pass protection is going to be as bad this game. I don't think New England has as many weapons in terms of pass rushers that the Panthers have. Like you said, Gilmore's out. That's going to help. So I think he'll have a pretty efficient game. I think he could put up, let's say 280 yards, but on a few less passes, maybe 32. And let's say a couple scores and no picks this time. I think that's a pretty reasonable way for him to go about it this game.
Yeah, that's really what I want to see. I want to see the continuation of the right decisions being made. Like there was maybe one or two other throws that were probably ill-advised. There was a deeper pass to Elijah Moore that could have really gone bad if I think it was Jackson that knocked it away. And then it was right after the interception, after the Jets got the ball back. He's rolling out to his right, and he kind of throws a ball like sort of in a not so great spot. So if he can clean that up, I'd be pretty happy. 250 yards, efficient. I do agree. I think the 37 pass attempts, it was actually 43 pass attempts, because you got to factor in like the sacks too, right? Like you have the 6 sacks that would have been an attempt had he gotten it off. So yeah, you get him down to that 25 to 30 range, then I think that means your running game is working. Time of possession, you look at the box score and you kind of go through everything, and time of possession was almost dead even for the Panthers and the Jets. And I'd like to see more of that. As long as we can kind of shorten the game with our running game and not put all the pressure on Zach to win right away, because we heard when Saleh first introduced Zach, like, hey, not even introduced Zach. He was on the phone with him at the draft, and he says, hey, we're here to lift you up, not the other way around. And it was clearly Zach that lifted the Jets up yesterday. And it felt like to me that he gives us a chance. Like, I think if you flip Wilson and Sam for the opposite teams, I think the Jets get blown out by Zach Wilson and like the Panthers.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think that's the biggest thing. Like you said, in this game, it was not what Robert Saleh promised. It was Zach Wilson lifting up the Jets, which is great to see, because eventually that's what makes you a franchise quarterback. Can you lift up the team when they need you to? The Jets lost by 5 in a game where they were terrible just because of their quarterback putting them in position to. So that's promising. But as a rookie quarterback trying to set a good base and develop, you don't want to develop bad habits. And that all starts with good support, so you could gradually grow in a normal sort of way where you don't have to have these games so frequently. So I think that's what's most important, just to continue to start helping this guy out. We just went through this with Sam Darnold. We know what it takes at this point to develop a quarterback, and how you don't develop a quarterback in the first game was how you don't do it. So less of that, got to improve the run game and the pass protection. And I think he showed that even as a rookie, he can have really productive performances as long as they can do that.
Guys, That was Michael Nania from Jets X Factor. He has a great follow on Twitter. Make sure you follow him. The link is in the description down below, as well as the to get to their page on Jets X Factor. So, Michael, thank you so much for coming on. Plug your channel, plug your Twitter. Tell the whole cockpit what you got going on this year.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's always fun to come on. But yeah, Jets X Factor. I mean, it's been so fun to do what we've been doing over the past year plus, starting it with 𝐷𝐵. But we really like to focus on just kind of analyzing things more in depth than really anywhere else, whether it's me with the advanced stats and the analytics, Joe Blewett and Robbie with the film breakdowns. And we have so many other guys who do film as well, which is cool because I think we offer a lot of different perspectives in terms of film, like varying levels of how intricate we're going with the details. Some guys are a little bit more understandable. Some guys like Joe go really deep into the details in terms of technique and fundamentals and X's and O's and scheme. So I think if you're looking for a place to go where you want to get the most nuanced analysis of what's going on the field with just less drama and storylines and narratives, but just looking at who's playing well, who's not playing well, how could they play better, what's the problem, what are the problems on the field, how can they fix it, then I think we're an awesome place to go. So check us out at jetsxfactor.com. Most of our articles are free, but a lot of our most in-depth stuff requires a membership, but you can subscribe and try us out for a month free if you would like to give us a shot. So yeah, check us out at jetsxfactor.com.
Guys, I cannot stress it enough. Jets X Factor is my first stop for literally all the film breakdown, all the analysis. Seriously, go over and follow these guys. They are a really good listen and a really good watch. Michael, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and I will talk to you shortly.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, boys and girls, Michael Nania, crushing it. Absolutely awesome. I love getting his analysis on everything because it is just an entirely different perspective. And like just the analytics he goes into, he's dropping all these numbers and everything. I'm just like, oh man, I can't focus. But seriously, I go over to his Twitter and I'm sitting there and I'm like following the Twitter feeds. Like every game, I'm like, okay, what did he say? You see me throw him up in the different videos. So it's always fun. Guys, we have reached that time of the night. I want to hear from you. I want to get your opinions on how the Jets did yesterday. How they didn't do, how they did, both things. Phone number's on the screen. So let's talk some Jets. This is what I've been waiting for. I want to hear you guys getting rowdy. All right, we got a caller on. Chris from Florida, hang on just a second. I have to figure out why the audio is not coming through on that side. So give me just a sec. Let's see. Audio settings, speaker. All right. Try talking. Let's see if they can hear you now. I love it. I love it, Chris. Man, it's been a long time. I've missed the passion and the energy. Talk to me. What did you feel? What did you think watching the game? What was your takeaway of Zach Wilson? Hold on real quick. I'm getting the no audio. So give me just a second to try and figure this out so that way we can keep talking here. What am I doing differently here? Audio input. Bam, bam, bam. I see your audio levels hopping. Output, input. Ryan, are you channeling the dude? Okay, sorry. Can't hear anything. So let me see. Audio input, my microphone, output, speakers, microphone Yeti. Sorry. I gotta figure out how to do this on the fly. Ringing. Speaker output goes to that. Pulling in this. Oh, you know what? I figured it out. I think. All right. Chris, can you hear me?
Absolutely. I can hear you, buddy.
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Second. Pause. Turn the knob, dude. Nah, it's me. It's let's see. All right. I can hear you. Try talking again. Nope. They can't hear you now. So they could hear you when I couldn't hear you. So let me try that.
You know what it is, man? It's obviously the internet gurus from the Patriots side already sabotaging our future. Already trying to get to the fans here.
All right. Hold on. Let me try this. All right. So Chris, can you hear me? All right. I think I just got it working. I got to write this stuff down so I actually do this right. All right.
If McGovern wasn't helping him, he was the guy that Van Roen was blocking just slid right through. I was disappointed. I was very disappointed with the offensive line. I didn't feel like Zach Wilson was getting the time he deserved. It just felt the first half looked like a joke and a repeat of what Sam Darnold was going through for the first 2 years of Adam Gase's history, and just no coordination, no help, no protection. Second half, loved it. Felt like I know what a lot of people are saying, like Zach Wilson brought up the team and everything, but something had to spark back into the kid's head, and that's why I think I put it all on coaching. I give coaching a really good adjustment grade. Having brought this team literally no touchdowns and going against possibly a 2 or 3 more touchdown against enemies, then just coming back only a 5-point loss, I love it. And I hope it's true what Salah says, that we'll have more games like this where it comes down to a touchdown, because it shows depth and it shows passion and it shows that the players are playing within the system and are playing for the team. That's what I want to look forward to. I'm glad he didn't get hurt after getting knocked out so hard. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, but I'm loving it.
I love it, dude. Chris, I'm going to get to another caller, and thank you so much for calling in.
Go Jets!
I love it. That's Chris from Florida, and I still have an echo in my ears. I got to figure this out. It's driving me Looney Tunes.
Call from
Rusty Spooner.
Rusty Spooner, what's up, dude? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, Sam. How are you doing, Ryan and Gangrene?
Ooh, I cannot say I'm feeling super happy because we had a loss yesterday, but I'm feeling good talking to all you guys.
Not awesome about that, but a beer's feeling good right now. I should tell you that.
There you go.
It's good.
Talk to me. How did you feel about the game yesterday?
First half, wanted to pull my hair out, just sure as everybody else did. But, I had the back of her head thinking, like, you're going to change the game plan over and not match it how it's been used to the Gatest era, which he did, which, Coach Saleh definitely did. But the only thing that drove me absolutely crazy was with LaFleur barking out the plays, not covering his mouth with, the play sheet and everything like
clipboard.
that. Oh, I was flipping out. They were knowing our plays. So, but
do you think there was anything to be said for Captain Morgan being over there and tipping our hand?
No, he was hammered, man. That's what happens, with Captain Morgan. Him and the Captain were making it happen. But what do you call it? Sam barely escaped too. As soon as we started putting pressure and heat on him, he started being like Sam. If we did that all game, he would have threw 3 interceptions and had a couple fumbles, no problem.
Yeah, I was really surprised that we didn't bring enough heat on him and that we weren't able to kind of take advantage of that matchup of the offensive line and our defensive line. I thought that was an area we really could have taken advantage of. And then opposite-wise, I thought our offensive line was going to be able to run the ball more.
That's what I was thinking too. And then all of a sudden we turned into Swiss cheese and not having Moses start and Fant in instead. And then Becton didn't look like Becton from the start. And then he got injured, which is terrible. But it was, a slobber knocker shit show. But, in the second half, we waited out the waters. It should have been a little bit worse than 16-0 in the first half. And, we went 14-3 against them in the second. So that's what you want to see from a young team. I haven't seen it like that. They're fighting, thank God.
Yeah, 100%. I actually like the halftime adjustments. I thought Robert Saleh had this team fighting hard. It was just really nice and refreshing because it wasn't the same thing you got from Adam Gase and all the, not talking to the quarterback, Sam sitting by himself on the bench. I did like LaFleur getting in Wilson's ear.
Yeah, that was great too. I mean, it so sucks, rest in peace, Coach Knapp, and then the domino effect that happened. But it's good to see LaFleur that he was down on the sidelines for at least the first game. I think he can go upstairs for the next 2 or, try it that way.
Do you think he'll actually go up, or do you think they'll try to keep him on the sideline like as much as possible?
I think for the Pats, they might keep him down. But seeing how that game goes, and I think he'll probably go back upstairs and then try and – because it's – I don't know. I could really see it. Like, he was just screaming without any covering over his face, nothing. And people pay attention to that. They got their snipers up in the stands, and they got all their coaching staffs that you don't even know about looking at different things, dissecting it. And I think that had a lot to do with it also. Different little disguises.
Yeah, LaFleur really likes being up in the box. So it actually took Saleh to say, like, hey, I want you down on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what they're figuring out, too, with Mims. Like, why was he up in the box, it seemed like? They should have swapped places.
Yeah, I don't know. It sucks. I don't know what is going on with Mims exactly, but it feels like it's a playbook type issue.
Yeah, I heard what Coach Saleh said too, but then they said that's how he practices, sort of. But I just compare him to Alvin Iverson. I mean, that's a terrible thing to compare, but it seems similar because the dude balls out when he's on the field. So it's like practice. That guy from, I forgot his name, was that Coach Mora, I think, from the Colts that had that famous thing. But that statement. But yeah, he's one that doesn't need it. That's what it sure seems like. When you ask the guy to deliver, he does. It's like, it's third and forever. We're just going to dump it off to you. He runs through half a team, picks up first yards. And then the same thing with the 40-yarder yesterday. He was 1 for 1 for 40 yards on the field for like 2 plays at best. And he produces. They got to fix that.
I want to see him with the ball in his hands. I want to see, I want Corey Davis on one side. I want Mims on the other side. And then just let them ball out. Let Elijah Moore go into the slot and just get your best receivers on the field. And I feel like when you have a Jeff Smith, like that, you're not putting your best athletes forward, I guess.
Yeah, that's 1,000%, man. You hit it right on the head, Ryan. It's at least it's not pulling the hair out all over the place like it was with the Gase case era. Because at least we did the halftime adjustments. Like you said, our coach wasn't sitting there snorting shit on the sidelines and doing whatever the hell he does, and eyes all bugged out, sitting by himself. Oh, God. And, yeah, I mean, Sam lucked out yesterday that we didn't get enough pressure on him. But could definitely be a different story. I don't know how Carolina Panthers could be proud of that. Seeing they're going to get destroyed. I mean, with us, we didn't, we're a young team. We didn't have it all together, but then when we bounced back in the second half, all the NFL teams are going to see that, and they're going to, the blood's in the water for the Panthers too. Those kiddies think that they're, something. They think they're the grace of God now. I heard about what they were saying, but they have no idea what the shit show is going to come forward. So I think that's pretty fun.
I completely agree. And I feel like the loss of Carl Lawson and the loss of Vinny Curry really hampered us. I felt like this matchup really favored us until those guys went down.
Absolutely. That's how I felt too. Then losing Joyner in the secondary and then having red wine, like return his ass to the liquor store, get like a bottle of wine, not boxed wine, something. Oh,
I love it. I love it. Brother, I'm going to get some more callers. Thank you so much for calling in.
Absolutely, man. You take it easy, Ryan.
Boom. I love it. Next caller on the line.
Call from
Joe.
Joe, what's up, dude? How you doing tonight?
Hey, Ryan, what's up, man?
Oh, just another day in paradise. What'd you think of the game yesterday?
Hey, man, I've been dealing with this for 40-plus years watching them. How'd you like to be me?
Oh, dude, I'm so I guess cognitively I'm like 25 years in. I'm 32 years old. But, man, I've been beaten down in my short time, and it's probably the most successful stint of Jets football that we've had.
Yeah,
aside
you're
from
right.
the Super Bowl, obviously.
You know what? I got to say this, though. As bad as the offensive line did and the defense did okay, they didn't knock it out of the park. They did okay. We didn't do that bad against this team. This team's got a top 10 defensive line and top 10 offensive line. Excuse me, not offensive line, top 10 offense. I mean, they got like 3 1,000-yard receivers on that team, McCaffrey, Anderson, and DJ Moore. And then their defense got 2 or 3 guys that can average double-digit sacks. I mean, and their corners were pretty good. So we didn't do that bad against them, and we played like crap.
I see someone in the chat saying the Jets are giving Ryan gray hair. I hope not. Not yet. This is the reflection of the light, I promise.
Zach Wilson, I got to say, he did good, in my opinion. He was under duress throughout the whole game. A little better in his second half, and he put up some pretty good numbers in the second half. I can imagine if that guy had protection, he would have went way over 300 yards and had possibly 3 touchdowns and would have, had a different narrative.
Completely. I mean, and even with the drop balls, too. Wilson probably goes over 300 yards.
Yeah, I mean, Elijah Moore, I think you're right, Ryan. I think he was nervous his first game. He looked like he was, kind of over trying a little bit. But I expect big things from that kid.
Yeah, I think he's really exciting. I think he's a dynamic playmaker, and you saw how easy it was for him to get open.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that guy runs a 4-3 that was covering him on that deep pass. That guy ain't no slowpoke, and I forgot his name, but that was covering him in that one pass. But that being said,
I wish I could tell you. I have no idea. I only know J.C. Horn on that secondary.
Yeah, there was another guy. I forgot his name. But overall, we didn't play good. But you know what? I thought we adjusted better in the second half, and we could have won that game. If the offensive line would have gave Wilson protection and the running game would have got going, we would have won that game. And that team, like I said, isn't that bad.
See, I think this game was a lot closer than it actually was. Like not going for the 2 field goals, missing the extra point. This really could have looked a lot worse.
Yeah. Ryan, one last thing. Let me ask you something. Sure. What do you think we should do now that Beckman's out and Joyne is out, the safety, and Man, the punt is out? I mean, should we start maybe trying to get some I don't know about the tackle. This Fant's going to be the left tackle, but like Van Roten and McGovern, we got to do something. We got to get some people, maybe at least Van Roten. We got to get somebody to get him out of there. Maybe is there any trade bait you think out there we can get? Offensive lineman?
I don't know. I'd have to really look at like what other teams would be giving away. What would you be giving up? Would you be giving up Marcus May, Jamison Crowder? like, or draft picks. Like, I don't know if we want to give up draft picks given this, like, team is still young. You want to try and build it through the draft.
If Mitchell Schwartz and David DeCastro weren't so banged up and their careers might be over with, we probably could have got one of them in the beginning of the season. They're good against the run, at least, those guys. Not so much good anymore with the pass protection, but they're pretty good against the run.
For me, I think the Joyner injury sucks. Like, I do want to see Ashton Davis, but I think he's out for another 5 weeks or so. So not having him is going to be rough.
You're right. About 4 or 5 weeks, yeah. But you know what? We got to do something, because I'll tell you what, Wilson can't take those kind of hits. That one sack he had when he banged his head on the ground, that was pretty bad, man. They got to do something with the offensive line. They got to tidy it up.
Yeah, you can't have Wilson keep getting whacked like that. I want to say he was sacked 6 times, and I think he was knocked down 9 times, like aside from sacks.
Yep. Well, since you don't got the cockpit, I'll knock myself out. Have a good night.
I love it, dude. Thank you so much for calling in, brother.
Take care, buddy.
That was Joe. I love it, Joe. Guys, if you're hanging out with us, drop a like. Ooh, I haven't talked to you in a while.
Call from
Detonator 10.
Detonator 10, what's up, brother?
Hey, what is up? How you been?
I've been doing all right. It's nice getting back into the call-in shows.
Oh, yeah. When I saw it on stream, I was like, oh, I got to call in. You know me.
Talk to me. What did you think of the game yesterday?
All right. So, yeah, I mean, it was good. I didn't have have a great time in the first half. I think the first half was like walking around all over the place, like, oh shit, it's just restarting. It's restarting. Oh, God damn it. And then I think the halftime adjustment is something that I doubted because as Jets, we never really made those as through our career, and actually seeing that halftime adjustment being made gave me hope, and I'm happy they were able to build off at the end. Just the one thing is as long as we can start off that way, we're much better. We gotta learn how to start off. I think that was our biggest problem every single year, that we can never really know how to start games. I feel like we get the ball and we don't do anything. We punt it always in the first part, and then nothing really comes about it. But I mean, it was an overall pretty solid game. At least that second half saved it. That's all I was saying for sure.
Yeah, I think that definitely helped. If we showed out like we did in the first half, in the second half, this game would have been blown wide open, and I would have been very upset. I'd be a very different Ryan today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were a lot of bad parts, and everyone, us being the New York media, we're losing our goddamn minds. We're like, oh, gosh, not again. But, I mean, Zach Wilson showed that even through adversity, being sacked 6 times, that he was still able to keep his head up and play with a certain level of kind of as you see a pro athlete do, and just really just start the ball out. And I mean, him and Corey Davis have something special. I've been calling that for a while. I'm like, oh, he's gonna have it. The only thing is, I just want to see more production from the other wide receivers. But I mean, that defense though was flying all over the place. I mean, that was a hard defense to throw against, and I think he did pretty well for his first game.
Yeah, I really can't complain overall with what we got from Wilson, because he didn't have any time. He was running around for his life. His elusiveness, especially when Burns was crashing down on him, does a quick juke, hops out of the way. I love that. It's everything I wanted to see out of him. Yeah,
and I mean, yeah, I was talking about his escapability was almost like Houdini at some points. He couldn't finish a trick. He got out of the chains, but he wasn't able to complete some of the passes downfield, which is expected. As you're being chased down. And what more can you ask from the poor kid? But I mean, in the end, I think he did his job pretty well. 258 yards, almost 300-yard passing game. He balled out. And hey, I'm just saying, if he averages 258 yards for 17 games, that's a 30,000 yards. I'm not complaining
it's
about
more than that. If he averages 258 yards, I want to say the record for the Jets would have to be 238 yards a game, I think. We're just over 4,000 from Namath.
I like did some calculations on my phone. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. But I mean, like the only thing is like I was always scared, like, is he gonna be turnover prone? Is he gonna do this and that? And after that one pick, he kind of like, kind of settled down a little bit. Like, okay, I threw the first one. There shouldn't be any more, at least for the rest of the game. And he was pretty much protecting the ball. I think the drive after, he almost threw another interception. But I think once he got the butterflies out of him, once he got like himself settled in, he was really just starting to sling it like he would in BYU.
Yeah, 100%.
That's most. Yeah, oh my Lord. All right, now here's the depressing part. All right, so then I mean, like Mekhi Becton didn't look great whatsoever. Like not the Mekhi we saw from 2020. And then he goes down with an injury. So do you think it's going to be George Fant left tackle, or do you think they're going to put Moses there? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's definitely Fant left tackle and Moses right tackle.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So I'm just like, there's a lot of stuff going on with our damn team, with injury. The injury bugs come grim reaped us once again. We can't have anything nice for too long. One amazing touchdown and that thing goes down. And luckily, it wasn't like anything like a torn ACL or anything like that. It was just a good, like, dislocated knee, which then pops back in the same session. I mean, they were pretty good about that. I mean, yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl. All right, just letting you know. There's nothing that's going down.
16-1, baby.
Yeah, you know what? We just had to get that one loss out of the way so we can go on our winning streak. It's exactly what it was. It's just like we had to give the NFL one more chance to look at us and be like, they suck. And then when we go 16-1 combined, all right. I mean,
I love it. That's exactly where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. Look, in the end, I think our corners did great for them being the highest amount of years on that one corner. It was like 2 years. That's Bryce Hall, right? Isn't that like our highest experienced corner out there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it was Bless Austin until Hall, I think. I mean, I guess you got Hardy, but he's not really a corner.
Yeah, I mean, our defense, I couldn't really blame them in the first half because they were on the field constantly. But in the second half, they absolutely showed out. And I think that's kind of like that Robert Saleh, giving his word of advice. And I wonder what happened in the locker room. I wonder how much, if he blew his top or he's just like,
He feels like a very stoic guy, not an angry guy. He might get fired up, but I think he's going to support the players.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's gonna lose his cool, but I mean, I saw a couple times oh damn, he's angry. I was like, oh yeah.
Detonator 10, thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some more callers.
All right, peace out, man. TK, man.
Peace. All right, we'll jump back into the calls after a brief message from our sponsor, BetQL. Want to get an advantage over your sportsbook? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their Best Bets computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets. Don't want to use the model and prefer to do your own research? BetQL has all the necessary tools for your research needs. There's sharp data so you can see who the pros are backing, line movement so you can jump on betting opportunities in real time, team summaries highlighting previous success against the spread and over-under, and team lineup breaking news and injury status updates. Plus, you can save all your picks in one place to track your success and winning streaks as well as view your rank on their leaderboards. Head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also head to try.betql.co/JetsTalk to get started now. Enter discount code JetsTalk at payment checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. You can find all this information in the description of this video. Make sure to check out their BetMGM offer in the description in order to receive a free year of BetQL. Also check out their sportsbook offers page if you live in any of the eligible states to claim free offers upon signing up for one of the many sportsbooks listed. Don't miss out on your chance to beat your sportsbook this football season. I love it. If you guys have not checked out BetQL, the analytics on there, very interesting, especially because it compares FanDuel, DraftKings, and a bunch of other sportsbook to really let you know which bets you should be placing. But now let's jump back to the phones. Let's get some callers. Want to hear from you. This is everything that I've wanted. I missed the call-in show. I got to figure out how I can do the chicken animation. I don't really know how to do that with all this. Maybe I got to create like a macro or something for the phone call side of things, and then like click on like a chicken flying across the screen on the other side. We'll see. We'll see.
Call from
Fred.
to accept press.
What's good, brother? Welcome to the cockpit.
Oh, hey, what's going on, Ryan?
Oh, another day in paradise.
Oh, man. First time I get through.
I love it. Talk to me. What'd you think of the game yesterday?
I watched the whole thing from beginning to end, obviously, like all the hardcores. And you know what? I was pretty surprised at how bad AVP was.
Yeah, I was disappointed in his opening debut. I really wanted to see him be the road grader that I thought he was going to be next to Becton.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, are you concerned long-term, or you think it's just a gelling issue?
Well, I had heard a report that he was out, or he wasn't practicing for I think the week up to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And prior, obviously, he was hurt with the pec and he didn't practice. So it might have just been he hadn't practiced and all stuff and it was just rust.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think so. Maybe if this continues into week 3, week 4, then yeah, I'm going to get concerned.
Now, what would you say your takeaway of Wilson was?
Wilson, that kid had some guts, man, because I agree with a lot of the people I've seen on a lot of the other different Jet shows where they were saying that if it was Sam, if the same situation was happening to Sam, he would have thrown probably, in my opinion, I think he would have thrown 5 picks. We would have had to pull him if he was getting hit like that.
Yeah, Sam was always a very strong quarterback, not going to be taken down that easily, but he's not that elusive like Wilson. I think there's a few sacks that could have happened to Wilson that didn't happen. And I think if Sam's back there, you're probably looking at 10 sacks.
Oh yeah. Easy. Probably a couple pick sixes too. Because Sam, he just throw him up.
Yeah, it definitely felt like if you put Wilson on the Panthers and you put Sam on our team, it wouldn't even have been a close game.
No, I don't think it would have. They would have been talking about a rookie phenom if he would have had all the tools. Just McCaffrey alone, because if you really look at it, Sam didn't do anything super crazy. All he did was check everything down to McCaffrey. McCaffrey was the whole offense.
Yeah, you really look at the Robbie Anderson play, and you take away the Christian McCaffrey stuff, and it's a way different game for Sam Darnold. Oh yeah. If
Joyner doesn't get hurt and Redwine, that piece of garbage, doesn't get caught flat-footed on that play, that's a 12. It's 12 to 8, and we actually probably come back and win this game.
Yeah, I feel if we got the ball last in this game, if we got that onside kick, I think Wilson leads us to a win.
Oh yeah.
Now, what did you think of the wide receiver play, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, those guys?
The only thing I got to say is we need more Mims.
I need Mo Mims. Mo Cowbell.
We need Mo Mims. Mo Mims. Hey, that could be your next T-shirt. We need Mo Mims.
Mo Mims. I love it, dude.
But seriously though, if Elijah Moore's getting too shook, hey man, that's great. You had a great mini camp, training camp, but you got to sit the fuck down, bro. Sorry, you got to sit down. The games count now. Put Mims in there, put Berrios in there, and if the game's too big for him, man, get the kid in there. He's a second-year player.
Yeah, you'd like to see him have more of an impact than what he's had the last 2 years, because we didn't use him a lot last year either.
No, yeah, I think that was more Gates though, just Gates being all rigid.
I don't know, because it was weird. I think it was more Sam maybe not utilizing him, because when you saw Flacco in there, it felt like everything sort of clicked better. I think it was a quarterback thing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because Flacco's more linear. Sam's just Captain Check Down. You know, like, I mean, you even saw it, like, with him checking down to McCaffrey. But, I mean, and also I think I had heard that our offense based on Gase was more linear.
Mhm.
And the reason why Flacco looked better in it because it's outdated. So, like, it was outdated to, like, 2010-ish, 2011. I don't know. I heard, I think some of the guys on Jets X Factor say that.
Yeah, for me, I was looking at Sam Darnold in the Gase offense, and it felt like Gase was trying to turn Sam into Peyton Manning, and Sam is not that kind of drop back 3 yards and just pass it. It's like, hey, get this guy on a little bit of a rollout, shorten the field for him. He can kind of make some off-script plays, and I really wanted to see that over the course of his time with Gase, and we just never really got that. You never saw any pre-snap motion. Like, at least when you're looking at the LaFleur offense and you see guys come in motion across the formation and you see the defense kind of switch up and go to all these different positions, then you can at least say, okay, this is man. Okay, this is zone. Okay, now that I see this, is the safety going to crash down? Is the linebacker coming? These are things that I think Wilson can identify that Sam either never learned because Gase was his quarterback coach. He never had a quarterback coach, never had a passing game coordinator. So it was either an Adam Gase issue or maybe it was a Sam Darnold issue. But I really liked what we got out of Wilson, and I think the building blocks are there for him to succeed long-term with us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They just got to fix that O-line, man. They got to do something at right guard and maybe even center.
Yeah, I'd love to see McGovern come back to form. Before we signed him, he was like a top 10 center.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, I got a question. What do you think after yesterday? Do you think that we make a trade for the O-line?
I do not. I don't think the O-line's coming in a trade. I think what you'll see is Fant goes to the left side. AVT winds up just, starting to gel over time. He's going to have to get some reps. I do think McGovern stays at center. I think, maybe there's an outside shot that you try to replace Van Roten. I think he's really the weak link when you look at this offensive line. And I think Moses is going to be fine on the right side. I think it's a matter of being able to establish the run game. And I think if you can do that, then it's going to make everything else easier. You're going to be on the field longer, so your defense gets more rest. You're going to have the defense getting worn down on the other side of the ball. And I think you're going to be able to work out of the play action pass, which is really what we needed to do to open up this offense more and kind of avoid that consistent pass rush when you're in 2nd and 8, 3rd and 7, like these types of ridiculous downs and distances. I think it just doesn't spell success for your offense.
Yep. Yeah, you hit that on the head.
Brother, thank you so much for calling in. I'm going to get some more callers.
All right.
Go good. Yeah. Oh, God, we've missed the call-in show. We've missed it. Let's see, what are you guys talking about in the chat? And Randy Moss was the best since Joe Namath. Joe Namath. That's not Jerry Rice. That's what you're saying. God, I'm reading multiple things at once.
Call from.
Nick from Suffolk County.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
What's good, brother? Welcome to the cockpit.
Yo, Ryan, what's going on?
Oh, just loving life. Just a little bit less after a Jet lost.
Dude, can we just admit that Greg Van Roten sucks?
Oh, God. Dude, the way he did not block his player and rolled him onto the back of Mekhi Becton's legs. That's the whole reason Becton's out. Ugh. It drives me up the wall.
Dude, I spent 20 minutes of my life watching a special on this guy on Jets Drive for that kind of performance. Like, really? I don't know if you know, on One Jets Drive, they had a 20-minute special of Greg Van Roten and his family and his practice and his grit and his toughness, but and then he goes out and performs like that. Dude, that was terrible. The entire O-line looked lost, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to peg it all on Van Roten. I mean, I think he's clearly the worst of the 5 linemen that you would have out there at any given time, and it's the position you'd want to try to upgrade the most. But yeah, I mean, I'm watching the One Jets Drive episode. I was like, oh, this guy's going to get it. I mean, now that we have a better right tackle situation, we got, McGovern maybe not trying to favor his left side because Alec Lewis isn't there anymore. And you got AVT. Becton in his second year. I was like talking myself up. I was like, this is going to be great. I'm watching the preseason, and I know it's just the preseason. You're getting vanilla defenses, but I really thought you were going to see like wide lanes opened up in the running game. It was just not like that at all yesterday.
And from Joe Douglas's perspective, like I understand the notion or the belief that he wants to prove everyone wrong about his free agency class and his draft class and like the lineman he brought in. Like, hey, look, they can play. I told you, new offense, new system. But dude, maybe they're just not that good. Maybe they're just not good.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Like,
you look at all the resources that we've devoted since Joe Douglas has been here. You take the swing on Ryan Khalil for like $10 million a year or whatever it was. I do like that swing. I think that was a valid swing halfway through the summer, July, or whenever we brought him in. I think that was a good attempt, at least. You bring in Alex Lewis. You bring in Greg Van Roten. You bring in George Fant. Yeah. You bring in Morgan Moses. You draft Becton really high. You trade up to get AVT. Like, you bring in Connor McGovern. Like all these different assets that we have just pumped resources into to get this offensive line to really work and to get the performance that we got yesterday is incredibly frustrating for me.
Yeah. Like, the truth is, like, it's really, really difficult to rebuild your offensive line. Like, I really haven't really disagreed with a lot of what Joe Douglas has done in terms of the O-line. Like, I like the Vera Tucker pick. I liked getting Connor McGovern, who was a top 10 center, by the way. I don't know what the hell has happened to him. It was like he forgot how to play football after 2019, but that's a different story. But, like, hey man, like in terms of the O-line, to me, watching the game, it wasn't so much that they were just getting beat like physically. To me, they just looked lost. Like they didn't know who to block. Like there were Panthers defensive linemen coming untouched on almost every single play. Like this is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, when I'm looking at the offensive line, I think for me, and I was talking to Green Bean about this earlier. I was on Richie's channel with him, and we were talking about how the stunts up front is really what gave us problems. Last year it gave us problems too, and it just doesn't seem like we know enough to pass guys off. Like it felt like, okay, the D tackle decides to wrap around to the right tackle, and you just see like the guard try to run with him, and then like the edge rusher comes running in, through that A gap sort of area. Right there, and it just threw us for a loop, and there was constant pressure throughout the entire day. And it wasn't even just the offensive linemen. You're talking about the running backs too. The running backs couldn't pick up any blitz pickup. They would run past them, and like there was one time where I think it was Burns almost took Wilson's head off, and I want to say it was Ty Johnson maybe that ran past the blitzing edge rusher, and George Fant was engaged with like the whoever was interior, or maybe it was a linebacker blitzing off the edge, whatever it was. It was really, really ugly. And I think our blitz pickup and our ability to communicate on the line with stunts, I think is going to make this offensive line look a lot better. And the way it really should look. I think on a physical, like man-to-man, like when they were like, okay, I'm rushing you and you're going to block me and I'm going to try and get past you. That was almost easier. And it didn't feel like we were getting outmanned as much as it felt like we were getting out-schemed.
Yeah, it was just clueless. And speaking of the running back, just really quick, I don't understand why Tevin Coleman is the starting running back. Like Ty Johnson and Josh Adams. I don't know why Josh Adams inactive when P. Ryan is. I think he's on the IR, right? Isn't P. Ryan on the IR?
I don't know, honestly. I think I want to say it was like a game time decision on him, so I don't know if it would be IR for him.
Yeah, but like my point is like, why is Tevin Coleman being used as the bell cow? Not so much the bell cow, I shouldn't say, but like the feature running back and the short yardage back when you have guys on the roster that could fill that role and be more fast, more explosive, more dynamic. I feel like Josh Adams, he really needs to be the short yardage thumper back almost, right? I mean,
for me, I like Coleman. I don't dislike it, but it doesn't strike me as quite the same as like the Frank Gore issue we had last year, where it was just kind of running him up the A gap constantly. 2 yards in a cloud of dust is what they always said. And I think if you had maybe a little bit more I don't know, knowledge in the offense. Not you, but like the running backs. I think they'll lean on Coleman early in this season, and I think what'll happen is you'll see them start to work Michael Carter in more. I think you'll start to see Ty Johnson in more, and I think this is more so to help guys understand the offense and know that your players are at least going to be in the right position, because I think it is tough for rookies to just kind of come in rookie year and really explode the way you would hope they would.
Right.
So I think Coleman right now, more about learning the playbook.
Right. Like some
That's the hope, at least.
presence, I'm assuming. Yeah.
All right, brother, I'm going to get some more callers.
All right, bro. Have a good night. Thanks for having me.
Peace.
Call from
Frank, what's good, dude? Welcome to the Cockpit.
Ryan, how you doing, bro? How's it going? How's everything?
I wish I could have a victory, Monday here, but I'm happy. I'm talking with a bunch of Jet fans. I'm getting some feedback, and I'm really just able to vent. This is therapy for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I second that emotion. I mean, first half was scary, to say the least, but to see the kid go in there and come out in the second half and calm down and look a little more poised, a little more under control, that was good signs. That shows where his head's at, that he's trying to grasp what's going on, and he definitely can read things better than, people that were previously here, so that's a good, good note to land on at least,
Yeah, for sure. It felt like when Wilson had the ball in his hand, it really, really felt like he was going to make the right read, and he was going to make the right read with an accurate pass. Like, I feel like with Sam, he would miss a guy that was running wide open, or he would just be kind of off his mark, especially on the deeper balls. Like, for me, I really wanted that Robbie Anderson pass to just fall like 5 yards too far and like see more of what we kind of got from him up here in New York without the connection to Perriman, without the connection to Robbie Anderson. And you didn't really quite get that, but I felt confident with Zach Wilson back there. And I felt like with him, with the ball in his hands, especially when they started moving to that up-tempo kind of offense, I think that sort of made me feel confident that we had a shot to potentially win. And I don't want to say I never had that with Sam, but the last 2 years, I really never felt that way about Sam.
I mean, you definitely had a feeling that we were in the ball game and we had a shot. It didn't work out, didn't go our way, but that's how the cookie crumbles, and tomorrow's another day. But on the injury note, we got Becton, we got the kid, the safety, I forget his name, I'm sorry.
LaMarcus Joyner.
LaMarcus Joyner, and we're wasting at safety, so forget about it. I mean, you see when they had Red Wing in there, it was just forget about it, So
yeah, you're talking like fourth string safety.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's I don't know what do you think are they gonna do? Is there anything? I mean, Ashton's coming back, but he's still got some time left, So I mean, I don't know what they're gonna jigsaw puzzle this together, sticky glue something. I mean, they got to find out something, man.
Yeah, I don't know what the play would be. Like, do you almost roll the dice on one of these safety linebacker hybrids and just kind of see what they would do back there, or are they more the will linebacker now, and they're not would not be suited for the NFL in a safety capacity? Because you got Marcus May back there, and I don't trust Redwin. I don't trust anyone beyond that at that point. Do you play one safety and you just roll with like a bunch of your corners? But even then, we're kind of thin there too. So I think you're kind of setting yourself up for failure either way. I don't know if there's a guy out there that you really go after. Like, it's not like you're going after Richard Sherman right now and maybe moving him to a free safety type role with everything he's got going on. I don't even know if he'd be looking to come to the Jets, but I do think secondary help is needed. But if we can generate pressure up front, I think it'll make the corners look better. So maybe there's some ways to kind of manipulate what we might see on defense where the safeties aren't quite as a liability as we saw yesterday.
Right, and you said it on your video over the weekend and everything. Like their offensive line, the left side was suspect to say the least, and you would expect, I don't know about dominant, but a couple sacks, something, please, like, get this guy down, I mean, but it is what it is. But I want to ask you your opinion. Call me a glutton for punishment, but I always listen to the radio on Monday. Did you think that the Jets were embarrassed? Because I don't feel that way. I don't take this L like, they got they things handed to them, and Sam was out. Sam looked good. Don't get me wrong. He looked good. He wasn't a world beat, but he looked good enough to to take care of us. So. But do you think that they embarrassed themselves with the whole Sam thing, him coming back to town? But he did have more weapons. He had McCaffrey, he had Robbie, he way more than he ever had. I mean, he did have Robbie that 1 year, but
for me, I think that I wouldn't call it embarrassed. I would say the first half, yes, very embarrassed. I wouldn't say it's embarrassed because of what Sam did. Like for me, the show was the Christian McCaffrey show, and Sam never – it didn't – like I would have preferred Sam to try and beat us with his arm. Aside from the Robbie Anderson throw and maybe like one or two other throws, a lot of his stuff was like pretty close to the line of scrimmage. And I think that for me, watching this game – and yes, I have the green shades on, so there's going to be a level of bias here. But I do think that the Jets made the right decision trading Sam Darnold and going with Zach Wilson. I feel like the ceiling is much higher in that respect. And in terms of the way we played, yes, first half, very embarrassing. I think the way they came back and like kind of made it a closer game. Look, this game should have been a lot wider of a margin. The Panthers left 7 points on the field, and then it could have been more. Sam actually missed a not a wide open, but at least like a touchdown play. I want to say it was on I don't know which drive it was on now. I'm getting everything all discombobulated. But I think watching Sam made me realize I like where we are with Zach. We're just young, and the team overall is making mistakes. You got to remember, rookie head coach, rookie offensive coordinator, rookie quarterback, rookie guard, first time kicking for a kicker, let alone punting. And then you have the linebackers that are new, the corners that are new. So we had a lot of young guys starting. So I'm not as – I don't want to say I'm not as worried or like embarrassed. Like the Jets were not supposed to win a lot of games this year. I think most places had them around 5 or 6 wins. And watching Zach Wilson at least made me feel confident that the future is very bright with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. I feel we got the right guy head coach. We got the right guy as quarterback. It's just, everything gelling, coming together, and maybe who knows at the right time. And maybe not this year, next year or the third year, we're really starting to see something. But I was just, we did lose, but I was okay with it because we were still fighting. The kid came back. He got that one sack. His head bounced off the turf. I was like, oh my God, please. So they got to fix this O-line before they get this kid killed. And thanks a lot, man. All the best to you. Congratulations on all the success, the misses, the family, everything. New crib. God bless you, brother, for what you do for us. And hopefully we get this win this Sunday against New England,
Thank you, brother. That really means a lot. It means that you're hanging out, you're watching everything. You guys tuning in, calling in, talking in the chat. Like I really have a lot of fun with this, and it makes me want to do this more. This is the reason that I enjoy this as much as I do. And I just want to say thank you for calling in, and thank everyone in the chat. Brother, thank you so much. Let's get this win against the Patriots this week.
Absolutely. Let's go green. Thank you, brother. God bless. Let's go Jets.
I love this. We are getting towards the end of the show. I'm going to have one more caller. We'll do one more caller coming in here. I want to get some thoughts. We could talk a little Patriots. We could talk a little, Carolina Panthers. Give me some of your thoughts. Where are we at as a fan base right now? Are we doom and gloom like we've been in the past? Or are we excited to take down macaroni and cheese this week. It's the best thing. Call him Mac and Cheese. The Kraft family is his owner. It's too perfect. Not the same Kraft, unfortunately. Actually, no, it's probably good because I like Kraft macaroni and cheese. I don't want to have to hate Kraft macaroni and cheese because of the Patriots.
Call from
Peter.
Peter, what's up, dude? Welcome to the Cockpit.
Ryan, what's going on, man? How are you?
Dude, long time no talk. I'm glad you're calling in. I want to hear what you thought about the game yesterday.
Well, to be honest with you, I was a little disappointed at the game, especially since I was in attendance over there in North Carolina.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. The experience was awesome, just being at the place and all that, but it hurt to lose. But you know what? I'm not mad about it because one loss is not going to kill us. And you was right about one thing. The first half, it was absolutely terrible. Like, I can't even describe it. But second half, that was a whole different story.
Yeah, it was nice to see some halftime adjustments get made, and it felt like Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, and Zach Wilson really gave us a chance to kind of come out and give us at least a chance to make it competitive and kind of hold our head up high. And I never felt like that was the case with Adam Gase or even Todd Bowles. And to some extent, Rex Ryan. Like, you kind of go back through our history, and we always shot ourselves in the foot with the halftime adjustment. So it was kind of nice to see that change in this game.
It sure was, man. To be honest with you, like I said, one loss is not going to kill us, and I feel like we're going on the right direction. And who knows, like Zach Wilson, it's probably going to take a little while for him to get used to. But you know what? You already seen the chemistry he has with Corey Davis. I'm sure he could build more chemistry with the others.
Yeah, 100%. Is there something that you really liked out of yesterday's game?
The main thing that I like the most is the fact that, like, the defense can hold their ground no matter who's on the field. Robert Saleh actually showed that, like, he can manage whoever it is.
Yeah, it really felt like he knows how to take advantage. No, I shouldn't say take advantage, but he knows how to get the most out of players when they may not be your starters. Like, you're talking about Joyner being gone. You don't have Ashton Davis. You don't have Jared Davis. You don't have Vinny Curry. You don't have Carl Lawson. Like, all these different players that you were expecting to be starters this year are just not there or are injured, and he's finding a way to at least be competitive, at least through one game.
Exactly, and that's something we haven't seen in so many years. Like, I can't even say how many.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And
now, what did you think of Corey Davis?
Honestly, I love Corey Davis. Like, I love his energy. He's a positive type of guy, and honestly, he's very humble outside and off the field. And he also showed that, like, he's about the sport. Like, he don't care about the money. He just cares about the sport himself, and that's something you need to see more often.
Dude, I absolutely love that. I feel like Corey Davis is the number one receiver that we've been looking for so long. He's a gritty guy. He kind of, like, whenever I watch him, and, like, I think probably up until I saw the One Jets Drive episode with him, I always thought he was just always kind of pissed off, like all the time. Like, it just seemed like he never wanted to talk, at least while the cameras are rolling. And then you kind of see him in his own element, and he's a little, like, happier, a little bit more going on. He's a very stoic and, like, intense looking person.
That he is, and to be honest with you, like you said it yourself, like he's a good receiver. And I'm glad to have him on the team, and honestly, he brings out that leadership that hasn't been seen in a long time. And he's also finally on a team where he could be his own leader without somebody else taking the spotlight, like AJ Brown did in Tennessee.
Yeah, 100%. And not even just that. You're talking about Derrick Henry, sort of stealing the show, being the main bell cow back right there, to be able to be the featured guy and to get the targets. Like, I don't know how many targets he had total, but I want to say there was maybe a drop and then, like, a long bomb as well. So he would have had, 7 maybe targets. It could have been more than that. But I think him getting the lion's share of the looks and the first, the first read, I think is really important. I think it's going to bear fruit for the Jets as this team grows.
Absolutely. And you just said it yourself, like, he could have had 7 or more, but you know what? 2 touchdowns was satisfying for me.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the ability that he had to know that Wilson was rolling out to his right, and the awareness to be able to get off and kind of work his way towards the right side of the field to give his quarterback a shot. I mean, that's huge. We haven't really seen that happen, or at least if it has happened, Sam didn't see it or whatever. It just wasn't really thought or taught. Like, it just feels like Corey Davis is a completely different kind of wide receiver than what we've had the last, 10 years, aside from maybe like the Brandon Marshall Decker year in 2015.
You just said it yourself, man. Like, I could have not said it any better.
I love it too. Brother, we are at the end of our show, so I'm going to let you go, but I hope you're going to tune in to us tomorrow night on Talking Jets.
I definitely will, man. Yo, it was good chatting with you again, Ryan. It's been a minute.
I love it, dude. Thank you so much for calling in, and I will talk to you next week. Guys, it has been a lot of fun. I have enjoyed this. Let me see if I have my okay, good. You guys can still hear me. I'm like clicking out of Windows, and I never know what's going on. But this brings us to the end of our show. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that decided to come out and hang out. If you guys are not subscribed to Jets X Factor, make sure you head over there. Go talk to them, watch their videos, subscribe to them. These guys know a ton of stuff, and they'll be back here next Monday, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock with us, and then we'll do our phone calls 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock again. I believe I got 𝐉𝐞𝐴𝐵 coming on with me next week. But guys, my name's Ryan. I've been your pilot. This is Jets Talk, signing off. J-E-T-S!